everybody. Welcome to Having Your Say. I'm Robbie Smith. This program brings you mostly good news stories to inspire, educate, and inform, so you don't want to miss a single moment of our program. Don't go away. We'll be back after this.
Excuse me, what's the first thing you notice about a man?
I notice his eyes.
I fell in love with her eyes.
Definitely his eyes.
It's true. Forget about those abs and glutes. It's your eyes people notice. You need the eye gym, the revolutionary device that has America looking good. Just slip it on, and the amazing eye gym does the rest. Use the eye gym on the go, during cardio, or just plain relaxing. The eye gym will take your face to a whole new place. See for yourself.
Taking care of your eyes is no joke. In fact, 1 in 3 Americans over 40 has a vision problem and they might not even know it. An eye exam can spot the early signs of vision-threatening conditions like glaucoma and can even reveal other serious health problems like diabetes and high blood pressure. Do not fool with your eyes. If you're over 40, remember, an eye doctor can see things you can't. A public service message from the Vision Council of America and AARP.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to our Making Sense Spotlight here on Having Your Say. On this segment, we are continuing our conversations with people from around the country to get their responses on the outcome of the 2024 presidential election. Our guest today hails from the state of Florida. She is a political guru and is civics savvy. She also knows how to get in the trenches of an issue in the neighborhood. So I'm so delighted to welcome to Having Your Say a very dear friend, Emilie McKendall. She is a former Chicagoan and a very popular radio and television personality. So with that, I want to welcome you. Thank you for joining us, Emilie.
I thank you, Robbie, and that introduction was awesome, but I don't consider myself a political guru.
Okay, so do you want to redefine it? I think you are.
Oh, no. Okay, I'll go along with what you think, but okay.
Okay, so we're going to get right into the conversation. I will ask you 6 questions and perhaps a few follow-up, okay? So The first question is this. Did you vote in the November 24 presidential election? And if you did, tell us why.
So yes, of course I voted in the election. I do try to vote not just nationally on the national elections, but also on local elections. And the reason I voted is because I look out and I see what is happening. And we all know and what the previous administration was like. And I just felt it was a duty to try to protect our democracy, and was very, very hopeful in that.
Okay, number 2, the day after the election, how did you feel about the outcome, and were you surprised?
Yes, I was surprised. I was devastated. I believed that there was because of all the news, of course, we were listening to, and everybody was talking about how close it was. And because of the momentum Kamala Harris has, Vice President, I thought that it would be close, but when it became just a tsunami, I was devastated. And I'm not clear that I'm over it yet, because I feel like the outcome showed us what America really thinks.
And what do you mean by that?
I thought we had evolved enough because of, I've been involved in these sorts of things since I was a teenager in high school, and going through the civil rights movement and all the different things. And so how far that we've come as a group, as a culture, as Black people. And the reality of it was the country is still not ready for a black woman to be president.
Okay.
That's my feeling.
Oh, okay. Go ahead.
No, I'm just saying, I just don't think this country is ready with all the progress we've made. I think it was a slap in the face to black women everywhere, because no matter how qualified we are, this woman was super, super qualified. Yet, we now have a convicted felon. What does that say? That they would rather have a convicted felon than somebody who is qualified.
All right. Number 3, how do you feel about the outcome today? Today is January 20th. Trump is being inaugurated into office. What's your feeling?
Nothing we can do about it. The United States, the people, we have spoken. They have spoken. It was not my choice, but the majority of people have spoken. And where I sit right now, I'm still very disillusioned. I have cut off all media. I'm just sorry. I'm just getting blurbs. I'm not getting down into the trenches of why this, why that, all the people that he's appointed, and whether I'm not watching the confirmations, any of that, because there's nothing that's going to change it at this point. And so what I'm doing and encouraging everybody else to do is live from your place of happiness. What makes you happy? And do those things and go out and enjoy your life, and don't focus so much on what's about to happen. Do what you can in your space, but don't get wrapped up in the negativity that's about to happen.
I didn't ask this question, but how ironic is it in your thinking that today is also the day we're celebrating Dr. Martin Luther King?
It's hurtful. It's hurtful because no judgment, but this man is everything that King fought against, and for the inauguration, and I don't think anybody planned it this way, but I'm choosing not to watch any of the thing that's going on as far as the inauguration. I'm choosing to immerse myself in the teachings and the life of Dr. King.
Okay, number 4, what do you expect during the first year of the Trump administration, given what he has said and what you know about him?
I do think it's going to be a wait and see. I am hoping that there are some people who are not just going to, and this is a big hope, I'm sure, to allow him to just run rampant. I mean, when he's talking about the deportations and we're going to do this and we're going to do that on day one, let's see. And then everybody has to make a decision from there on how they're going to conduct their lives from there, because there's nothing that we're going to be able to. And again, you mentioned I live in Florida. So a lot of the people that he's putting on his staff are from Florida. And when you look at their backgrounds and what they've done, especially, I don't even like calling his name, but DeSantis, when you see their positions and the things that they're trying to do with banning books and getting rid of DEI and all these kinds of things, I think it's going to be on a national level. But then what are we going to do to continue to live and not be oppressed again?
Number 5, what should Democrats do and how should they respond during the first year of Trump's administration?
You're saying the first year. And I think for me, the Democrats have always had a problem with messaging and with being tough. We are seen as the group that allows rather than challenge. I'm so proud of Michelle Obama not going to this inauguration today. I just think that we need to toughen up as a party and to be more forceful as a party, because we allow too much stuff to go past, and our messaging has always been very weak.
I heard someone the other day say that Democrats need to learn to be more ruthless if we don't know how to do it. That's what Don Lemon said on his podcast.
And that I fully agree with that statement. fully agree with it.
And perhaps be proactive in doing it on the offense. We're not on the offense enough, what do you say?
You couldn't have said it any better. We're always playing defense, always. Because, and I know you and I have talked about this in private conversations, I think what the biggest move could have been is if Biden had stepped aside once she lost the election and to allow Kamala to serve the rest of his term. There's nothing in the Constitution that says he couldn't have done that. I just feel, going back to what we just said a moment ago, we're not tough enough, we're not ruthless enough. And if he had been that ruthless to do that, we would be in a different place right now.
And talking about ruthlessness, I thought of this in looking at this is not in my questions to you, but in looking at the ceasefire, the Israeli-Gaza war, and what has happened. I don't think that our president he should have been more ruthless with Netanyahu. What would you say?
I would agree with that. And look what's happening now. Let's use your word ruthless. This new administration is claiming the ceasefire.
Credit for it, yes.
Yes. And Biden was the one, but their rhetoric, on the Republican side, are putting out the messaging that it was him, that it was this new administration when it was President Biden. We're not messaging to that.
Right. And I think the real issue in the point is that even though Biden had the plan, he was not forceful enough and did not get the response from Netanyahu that he deserved because of the United States providing all the equipment, weapons, and stuff like that, gave Israel the capability of doing everything to defend themselves. But Netanyahu did not show his respect. What would you say?
Well, let's step back a moment. Let's look at Netanyahu. He did not win his election. He took his election too, claiming that, and his purpose was the same as this incoming administration. He doesn't want to be, I'm losing my words. He's criminal too. Let me just say it like that.
Yes.
And he was protecting himself from any kind of legal accountability. And so the only way he could do that is to stay in power. So the differences between Netanyahu and this new incoming administration, there's not a lot of difference.
No, that's right. I agree. We'll have to talk about this in more detail in our next conversation. Okay. So number 6, in your opinion, did Vice President Kamala Harris have the realistic chance of becoming President of the United States?
I feel that everybody, because you saw the momentum, we felt the momentum. I just think she was more than qualified. I just think at the end of the day, our country said no to a black woman to her face. We are some of the most accomplished, from CEOs to doctors, nurses, but we don't, as black women, get the respect and the acknowledgement that we should have. This country is still backwards in that thinking that we are less than, and I think that's the biggest insult of all.
Now, I heard the other day from a black female podcaster that black women are just going to sit back and let things happen, not be proactive and involved as we were during the campaign season. So, but what can black women collectively do, given that we do have a certain amount of power and so forth, very educated? What can we do now? Have you given thought to that?
I have, but the first thing I think we owe to ourselves is a moment of healing, whatever that looks like for any black woman everywhere. We have to heal from this, and I know that's the place I am in right now because I feel so hurt by it because, again, I've been in this battle since I've been 15, 16 years old. So to be at my age, which I'm not going to reveal, and to still recognize that as far as we've come, we still have so much farther to go. And what can we do? I don't know if I'm the person that can answer that in this moment because I'm allowing myself this time to heal. And maybe once I do, I could be more constructive. But right now, I need a breath away from it.
Okay, so that ends my question. So I give it to you. What would you like to say in closing this wonderful conversation?
Oh, thank you, Robbie. I just want everybody to breathe. We don't know what's going to happen yet. We can plan, we can mobilize, but we just really need a healing in this moment. And again, I look at this whole plethora of what's going on as a spiritual awakening, and because we're so divided and we don't recognize we all are under the same umbrella. And during this moment of healing, I think that's what we have to sit back and recognize, that this is much bigger than us, but what part can each individual play to get to a different space and time. And the reality of it is, Robbie, I'm not really sure that there's going to be another election. That's just the way I feel about it. And because if you think about it, even as he was campaigning, he said he didn't have to go on CBS. He didn't have to debate Vice President Harris anymore because he knew he was going to win the election.
That was Emilie McKendall, a former Chicagoan, now living in the state of Florida. Stay with us. The next guest on our Making Sense Spotlight is Keith McDonald, a popular community television producer here in Chicago. He serves as secretary on CAN TV's board of directors. Keith is a highly sought after videographer who has built valuable relationships with civic leaders and elected officials. It is my pleasure to welcome to Having Your Say a dear friend and colleague, Keith McDonald. Thank you so much for joining us.
My pleasure, my pleasure.
Yes, we'll get right into the conversation. I'll ask you 6 questions and maybe a few follow-up questions. So, number 1, did you vote in the November 2024 presidential election? If so, tell us why.
I did vote in the 2024 presidential election. I think it is so important that in a society that we live where those in office can dictate to us what we can and cannot do, they can only do that with or without our participation. And if we participate, we have more of an advantage of persuading them in office to vote in our best interest. And so if you don't vote, then you're not helping yourself.
Okay, number 2, the day after the election, tell us, how did you feel about the outcome and were you surprised?
How did I feel about the election the day after? I felt not so good. However, knowing that you have to give respect to whoever wins the office as a fair participant in the process and in the system, you give credit to that person who is in office. You may not always agree with them 100%, 50%, 5%. You may not even agree with them 1% of the time, but they have claims. They have went through the process that we have used for a very long time, centuries, and if they become the elected official, then they are due that respect. However, I was surprised because I did not think that someone who had been such a bitter taste in so many people's mouths, and that's a full philosophical sense, that he would be re-elected again or put back in office, and especially because of all of the court cases that this particular now president elected, all of the court cases they have went through, and there are those that have found him guilty. And of course, some of the things he has said that he would do while in office, I do not agree with. And so I thought there were more of us than more of those who voted for him. And I was surprised to see that I was in the minority on that day.
Number 3, how do you feel about the outcome today, January 20th, 2025? Donald Trump has been sworn into office, and he says he's going to sign a lot of executive orders. What do you think, and how do you feel?
How do I feel about him becoming president? The outcome from today, I feel, one, it is again part of the process. I think one must and should be reminded that on the same this same time 4 years ago, there was this big outburst, this big campaign to say that the election, the election was a fraud. And so we did not have that disturbance this time. And that's something that I've noticed and makes me feel that I was on the right page all the time, that you just don't interrupt our government at that level, but you don't interrupt our government with such a frivolous a notion. And so with the executive orders, again, there are a lot of things I do not agree with the current president on. And so, I mean, he has the power to do it. So I have to buckle in, be prepared for what may come my way personally, and then be prepared for those things that may affect my community my community. So I have to just buckle up and get ready for it. And at the same time, put in process, help to put in process a procedure that will not let this sort of thing happen again.
Okay, number 4, what do you expect during the first year of the Trump administration?
I expect there will be a lot of uncomfortable people in that they are going to be faced with difficult changes or development that may come from this presidential administration. I don't think they're going to be happy faces, and I think those who are supporting these events, these causes, these actions, I really don't think they've actually thought it through, especially not in a collective manner where they are to represent, they are responsible for representing the whole and not themselves. And I guess that's the other thing I feel about this, what's to happen, is that this new president will do things to be in his favor and not the favor of the whole of the country.
Okay, number 5, what should Democrats do and how should they respond during this first year of the Trump administration?
I think Democrats should hold steady in that, give him the respect or the acknowledge that he has become president by way of the process. However, at the same time, assert themselves in that if you don't, I'm not saying to just go along with the program. They should assert themselves that if something is not right, they should speak on it and speak on it to the full extent of what the law and just good common sense says that they could do, and not just sit back and just woe is me and talk about it and not do something about it. Whatever it is, I think we as Democrats should support our elected officials that are in office. Every day we should do something to support them, not just vote for them one day and they don't see us for the duration of the term. While they're advocating for us, we should be doing something every day to help them help us.
Okay, I want to go back to number 3 and looking at what Trump will do in his first year. I want to look at, since Chicago is a sanctuary city, and mass deportation is supposed to start immediately. What is your feeling as a resident of Chicago?
As a resident of Chicago, I believe that there is an excessive amount of undocumented or immigrants, and however, I don't know what word or label or phrase people use, but there are different ones out there. But I think that something should be done about the excess amount of those who are here undocumented. What that is personally is, we have to find a civil way to help them return, because it's a burden on the rest of us that we did not ask for. Being a sanctuary city does not mean that we should give up our freedoms and our amenities as much as we have been doing. So I think that something should be done, but in a civil manner, not something that is inhumane.
But are you saying you agree somewhat with the administration moving forward with the mass deportation?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Number 5. I was asking you what should Democrats do and how they should respond. Do you want to add anything else to what you said?
No, I think that was that they should assert themselves, not just go along and not be overly aggressive, because that only makes it tells them that as they act like, as the other folks, most of them do, act like bullies. So don't be overly aggressive. Just be assertive and continue to hold on to what we have, but make plans on how to address this and to also then implement it so that something like this does not happen again.
Now, some of the people I've talked to feel that Democrats should be more ruthless and on the offense to achieve what we need. That Republicans do this very strategically. So what would you say about that? Being on the offense in particular and having great messaging.
I think that the key word that you used was strategic. Just as they use the strategy in being offensive, we can use a strategy in being assertive.
This ends part 1 of our conversation with Keith McDonald. We'll bring you part 2 next week. Don't forget, come back and join us next Monday evening at 8 o'clock p.m. and the show repeats on Tuesday afternoon at 3 o'clock p.m. all here on CAN TV 19. So until next time, I'm Robbie Smith.